Hello, hello. Welcome back to Fast50. Welcome, welcome. Is that Easy Speezy in the flesh? I believe that is back there. Look at that guy. Looking good. How's it going, guys? How's it going back there? Hanging out there, Spiff. We'll see them later. I think maybe today or tomorrow. And I'm joined by the couch. Please introduce yourself.
What's up, everybody? My name is Adef. I'm going to be joining for OOT here. My boy Danny's about to show you everything that's possible in a game that you maybe enjoyed as a child, but it's going to blow your mind.
So I think a lot of people have either two relationships with Ocarina of Time.
Okay.
One is, I'm just going to say as a given, everyone's played it.
Sure.
At least played it.
At least played it. Maybe not finished.
I'm sure most people haven't, to be honest.
You think so?
As a kid,
Okay.
it's hard to fucking beat.
I remember calling one of my friends over to my house for like a play date, but it was actually just, can you beat the Forest Temple for me?
My friend Jake in high school was like, hey, let's play it again and beat it. And then at a certain point, I was just watching him play because I was like, brother, I'm not cut out for the water temple.
That shit's beyond me.
I'm not your guy.
Yeah, no.
So I think everyone's kind of played it. There's like a nostalgia factor that comes along with it. But I also think there's a large group of people. This was one of, for a long time, the more popular speedrunning games.
Oh, yeah. 2013, 2014 era on Twitch. It was this and Mario 64 would garner regularly thousands of viewers, which at that time was like top 10 on the watch list.
Yeah. Yeah, that like speedrunning is ultimately, I think, a huge part of like Justin TV's rise.
Oh, yeah.
And this was one of the classics. And then I think it got insane. Like it got broken, and then it's over, it's dead, 90%'s dead, and then broken. And I think, you know, there are people who jumped on the wagon at certain parts, fell off at certain parts.
Yeah.
But where it is now, I don't even know. Because I thought it was SRM. They're apparently we're past that.
Yeah, so
I didn't know you could be past that.
Well, so SRM is still the fastest way to beat the game in any percent.
I see, okay.
But Danny will be showcasing he's showcasing two runs.
Right.
They are both in the category called Defeat Ganon, because a couple of years ago, the community decided that SRM, while cool and beats the game super quick, is not exactly the most enticing run to do because it's 6 minutes long.
And a quick little explainer is you're basically using the controls to then like go to a debug coder menu or something.
Sure. So SRM stands for stale reference manipulation. And basically what's happening is you like unload an actor while you're holding it. And then the game just starts to point that actor towards tons of different stuff. And based on your angle and what enemies are doing, you can manipulate tons of stuff about the game, including warp to the credits. And so in Kokiri Forest, in the 80% run, the world record's like 6 minutes. You can warp straight to the credits right at the beginning of the game with almost no items.
Right.
But the community, after that got kind of refined and as fast as it would go, was like, okay, that's cool and a great showcase of what we're capable of as a community, pooling resources to learn everything about the game. But it's also, frankly, boring.
Right.
And so we sort of split any percent back into the sauce and the non-sauce. Okay, so SRM is potentially the non-sauce.
Okay.
But what we're going to see is definitely the sauce.
Basically going back to
our roots.
Gameplay, mechanics.
Yeah. How quick can we go and beat Ganon to get to the credits?
Kill the boss.
Yeah.
Which I think is like a fair separation to make.
Yeah. And it is two separate categories.
And I made a request here of Danny.
Yeah.
Of like, because I remember the old strat, which is you do a wrong warp after doing Deku Tree.
Yes.
And then you go straight to like the top again, and you have to run through, dodge all the falling debris, and then you do the Ganon fight with the ISG. What is it? Yeah. And then that I think was the Narcissa run.
Yes.
Where it was called Dead.
Yes, that
After
run
like
was
a 19-minute.
very famous.
And and that's the one I saw. And it was a great run.
Yeah, tremendous.
And I don't know what the strat's going to be for the new. But do you have a reference you can give me for the time? Like, how different is it there?
Sure. So, for instance, the sort of 19-minute realm that you're talking about, that run really was a game breaker. And then over time, people did refine Defeat Ganon a little bit, get it down to like 17 minutes-ish is around where the world record stood. And then a couple of months ago, somebody, mainly Danny, did a lot of the science to uncover a new trick that sort of revolutionized Defeat Ganon. And now the run is around like 10 minutes. Dang. So Danny's going to show both the older version that you're familiar with to sort of give you, a good idea of where we came from, a little bit of our history, and then we're going to show you the new.
So Danny's that guy.
Danny's that guy.
Danny came up with that? You came up with that strat, Danny?
I'll explain a little later. But
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
Danny,
Who's the-
some of the science.
Wasn't there a guy, Skater Boy?
Skater?
Skater?
Skater.
Skater did a lot of early work.
Skater, I feel like I would watch his streams and he would just break the game repeatedly, and that was the stream. It was never like a run. It was like just running into a wall, and then like maybe something happened.
It was webcam, emulator, memory watches, and cigarettes.
Yeah.
That was the entire stream.
That's the marking of a great gamer.
I truly.
What's your relationship with Ocarina of Time?
Me?
Yeah.
I picked up the speedrun in 2013.
Me too.
Yeah. And I ran any percent. Actually, the route we're doing now is the one I picked up because that was at
Same.
the time that
Yep.
route. And then in 2017, I picked up 100%. I ran
Same?
that. Never
is
got top
weird.
level, but like 4.5 hours. And then yeah, I've just always kept following it ever since. So I know the run very well.
4.5's good, no? I mean,
Sorry,
maybe
what? 4.5 hours?
by now
At
standards?
the time, it was very good. It was, 20 minutes-ish off world record?
Yeah, it was
something
like
that, I think.
4:10 in 2017.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
What
So-
was Clint's? 420 something?
Yeah, that was my goal before I quit. I
Beat
wanted to
Clint?
beat
Beat
Clint,
Clint?
Did you?
even though the route... No.
He was like
I should
420,
go
right?
back and do it, though.
426?
Even though I
Clint?
have an advantage over all the new strats. It'd be
Yeah,
really
right,
funny
right.
is
The
be
run
like...
is I still beat Clint.
Yeah,
so.
Ocarina of Time to beat
It's like
Clint.
beating a guy's high jump record back when they were doing it forwards
Yeah,
instead of backwards. Okay, well, hell yeah. I'm excited to see it. Danny, I think we didn't have you on mic. Do we have you now?
Can you hear me?
Yes. Danny, if you want to maybe just introduce yourself, kick things off here.
Yeah, totally. I'm Danny B. I've been speedrunning Ocarina of Time for a long time, since like 2013, around the same time as Linkus. I've done a little bit of everything in this game. I started out mostly with glitchless runs. I've held a few world records over the years, and we're going to do 2 runs today. Heard you guys talking about it earlier. It's going to be Defeat Ganon, no SRM. And we're going to start out with some nostalgia, the runs that you guys all might know and love from a while ago.
Great
Hell yeah.
route.
Also, excuse my voice. I woke up and it's like shot for some reason, but should be good.
Look, I think we're all going to be weaker than we were when we started
Yes.
this weekend.
Yes.
Definitely.
But it is an exchange for raising money for charity. And before we kick things off, I'll give a quick thank you to Quartz, who donated $500, who said Happy Fast50, Happy Pride Month, Happy Burger King 70th birthday.
The most important in that list.
that order.
Yeah,
That's
of
the
course.
big 3, yeah. And then 100 from Vidya James, who
Oh.
said, Ganon can't wait for 2034 when we discover Ganon Store. I don't know if that's a thing or if they made that up.
I think it might be another Burger King reference, perhaps.
I think people have BK on the mind.
yeah.
All right, I'll have it your way. It's whenever you're ready. If you want
All
to count
right.
down.
Yeah, so time's going to start when Link starts moving in his house.
We skip credits.
We skip the opening cutscene.
Skip opening.
So
Is that new?
yeah, pretty
relatively.
Like a year ago. It's
Yeah.
allowed for the leaderboard, too.
All right, so we're going to start in 3, 2, 1, let's go.
Let's go, Danny.
Oh, and there's like a thing to skip the cutscene.
You just save in Link's house.
Yeah,
Oh, I see, I see,
You
I see.
watch it once, save the game, keep that file around, and you start your file from there every time.
That's convenient.
So this is Defeat Ganon, no SRM. The goal of this run is to just defeat Ganon, the final boss. And it might sound a little weird to call it that. Why not just say it's any percent, right? Like the fastest way to beat the game isn't necessarily beating Ganon. A valid ending point for Ocarina of Time speedruns is wrong warping to the credits. And there are a surprising number of ways to do that. We've been able to do that ever since like back in 2012 or so. And one of the fastest ways to do that, in fact, the fastest way, is a glitch called SRM, Stale Reference Manipulation. You guys were talking a little about it earlier. And you can wrong warp to the credits. The any percent world record with that these days is under 4 minutes. It is it's a little bit absurd. I've got a pretty good time in that category, but as you guys were saying earlier, it also can, it can be a little boring. It can take a little of the magic out of the game if you do too much warping all around. There is going to be plenty of warping in this run, but the goal is just to get to the final boss, beat him as fast as possible, and that's what we're going to do.
See, speedrunning's funny because it's one of the few things. It's kind of subjective. It is like what is kind of fun to do is a big part of it. What's fun to watch. It almost seems secondary. It's like what do you want to run?
Yeah, I mean, the only reason for other speedrun categories besides any percent is fun, right? Like,
Right.
Yeah.
there's the question of how fast can you beat the game, and then everything else is just arbitrary things that we impose upon ourselves to make it more interesting.
And I think it's proven nowadays because I feel like every game gets more meme categories than real categories.
Yeah.
Yes,
Like we saw that
absolutely.
last night with the Spectator.
Yeah, and I also think, Danny, correct me if I'm wrong, but I would argue that no SRM in general for the longer categories are more popular.
Yeah.
Like, no one runs the SRM 100%, for example, to my knowledge, still actively. At least not a lot of runners.
Yeah, it's not nearly as popular as this one.
Yeah.
So this is Aqua Escape. This is a very traditional OOT trick to escape the forest early without beating the Deku Tree because we need to get to Kakariko Village in order to get a bottle.
Yeah, so we only need a few items in this run. We got the Kokiri Sword to start, and as Adef said, we're heading to Kakariko Village to pick up a bottle. And we don't need too much more than that. We're going to come back to the forest at some point and pick up a shield. And to that end, we're going to pick up a bunch of money going down the river here because we're going to need to spend 40 rupees on that shield later.
What got you into this, Danny?
What'd you say?
What got you into this?
So I've kind of just always been naturally into speedrunning, like before I even knew speedrunning was a thing that people did. Like I was super into Mario Kart as a kid, time trials and stuff like that.
Right.
And then back around like 2012, 2013, as Twitch started to get big, I found like the Majora's Mask 3-day challenge randomly, and I saw people like trying to beat the whole game like in the first cycle, and that was like the coolest thing ever to me because that was the first time I realized that like, oh, you can try to speedrun a game that like doesn't have a timer in it, you know, like that's a thing that you can do. And Zelda was already something that I loved a lot, so it kind of just like naturally put things together that I liked.
It's funny that like almost every speedrunner story is like, how did you get into it? It's like, well, I started watching it.
Yeah.
Which is cool because I think a lot of people who are watching this, it's like Ocarina of Time, even a game that's as maybe solved as you might think, is a game you can get into.
Yeah.
And will probably shift in the time that you start playing it for however long you are in the community.
OOT is the gift that never stops giving.
It is.
Absolutely.
This game is 25 years old, and we keep finding new stuff that's fast all the time.
I feel the devs got to be fed up.
I think there's a dev who wakes up every morning, his wife hands him the newspaper, and it's like new SRM, and he's like, God damn
It's
it.
like, I know. I spent a month on it. There was a deadline.
I think the beautiful thing, though, about learning OT is even though it's really, really complex, the community has like 1,000 setups for each trick.
Yeah.
And in this game, you can basically pause buffer for free because you can, if you pause during an unpause when the menu is basically closing, it will not progress a single frame in game. So any trick you can make easier by pause buffering, basically. So as long as you're willing to go slower, that's fine, right?
Yeah.
And I think also when you're picking up a game like this, in the beginning, it's not about getting a fast time. It's
No.
about, I want to teleport from the beginning of the game to the end of the game. That looks awesome.
It's a good party trick.
Exactly, and I think it's cool that anyone can learn it with a tutorial or two and probably nail it, honestly, in a day or two.
Yeah,
it really
the
isn't
thing with
that
Ocarina
bad.
of Time is that like it's a lot of times completely visually nonsense. Like you have no idea what's happening when you're watching an Ocarina of Time speedrun. And you know that's part of the charm, but I think it also maybe makes people too intimidated to pick it up. But the difficulty in Ocarina of Time is truly just that. It's like understanding what's happening, and the actual gameplay and like executing these tricks is not nearly as hard as it might seem. So like once you get over the hump of learning what's going on, it helps so much in trying to get those consistent runs. And you know we were just talking about like a whole bunch of consistent movement with Point Crow's run, trying to find setups that will work out the same every time no matter what you do. And Ocarina of Time is like the king of that. Like the movement is so repeatable and consistent. And so we have setups for things that are just unbelievably complicated that you would never be able to do consistently in any other game. But in this game, you can do it easy every time.
I also want to quickly shout out that like the OT community is a great place to start speedrunning if you're interested. It's an incredibly welcoming, very helpful community, and Danny has actually pioneered an excellent website called StratDB that speedrunning communities should implement, where you can basically make a library of strats that you can search by tags to like learn a trick quick without having to go to YouTube and find an unlisted video by like pancake nibbles.
One of the joys, though, is finding a 17-year-old video in 360p.
Yeah, but it's titled like Trick 1.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's mostly filler content. That's I think that's cool. It's categorized somewhere now.
What's up, guys? Please subscribe. Anyway, this is my setup.
So we picked up the bugs, which is the main key item that we need, bugs in a bottle. Or anything that you can like drop out of the bottle and then recatch again immediately. So like fish would work too. Bugs just happen to be convenient in a rock right near where we get the bottle. And then when I did a save warp, save the game, reset, you come back to Link's house. Fast way to get back to Kokiri Forest. Now we're getting the shield, because Sword and Shield you need to get past Mido. And we're going to get to the Deku Tree. And then I'm sure a lot of you kind of like know the gist of this. This has been around for 12 years. You know, wrong warping got discovered in 2012. And then for like 5 minutes after wrong warping was discovered, the fastest way to beat the game was like a wrong warp to the credits. But then very quickly after that, this wrong warp was discovered from the Deku Tree, you know, which is much faster because you can do it as Child Link. You can do it pretty quick. You only have to do a little bit of overhead involved to even get up to it. You really just need a bottle. And so this was the basis of any percent for forever, right? From 2012 when it was discovered up until 2019 when SRM took over any percent. And after that, it was still the fastest way to get to Ganon. You know, once the Defeat Ganon category split off from any percent, this was still the fastest way to get to Ganon for the next 5 years after SRM was discovered. So the Ganondorf Wrong Warp that we're going to do here had a 12-year run of dominance as the fastest way to get to the final boss. And then earlier this year, that was shattered by something new, and that's what we're going to get into later.
I also think it's such an Ocarina of Time comment to be able to say, this massive glitch lets you skip to the end of the game, lasted for 12 years, that's so long. Most games hopes for a singular glitch to skip to the end.
Right.
But it's like almost expected out of this game that it is so broken that, no, of course, like 12 years, that's crazy that we didn't find anything faster in that time.
It's also like the thing I always say about Ocarina of Time is that the reason it's such a good speed game is not just that it's like quote unquote broken, right?
Yeah.
It's the fact that even as you break it, it holds together. Like
Absolutely.
the game does not fall apart even when you're throwing like bricks at it.
And if you play this game casually, you will not run into any of these glitches. You have to go out of your way to do it.
Exactly. So this is ISG, stands for Infinite Sword Glitch. We'll see it a couple times. This is a frame perfect trick where you interrupt a crouch stab with some other action, usually a text box. And this allows your sword to be swinging every single frame, even when it's not out. And this has a lot of interesting properties, including one you're about to see, which is when you shield damage in the air, you will hover in place. Because when you have the sword out and are swinging your sword, you can't fall off ledges. So this sort of takes advantage of that since it's happening every single frame. And then the thing we're doing is called hovering. And the goal here is to hover off of this Skull Walchula, which is unfortunately the name of this enemy, and then
That's deadass the name?
That's Skull Walchula.
Wait, I thought it was Skulltula.
Skulltula are the
one.
big ones. These are Skull Walchulas. Ludwig, I know it's
Please, I'm sorry, I apologize.
and then Danny's going to do something called a Mega Side Hop, where he's going to shield damage. Oh, not a Mega Side Hop. It's just a Side Hop. Okay, this is hovering, and then that is
Missed it.
Danny's going for a basement one skip here, but there is a really nice backup that's been around since before time.
This is coming back to me like a Jimmy Neutron brain blast.
I think this setup was like forum old, like before even videos. Like this would be almost like text description level of old.
This is the kind of setup that was discovered for like a challenge run called Get to Gerudo Valley in like 2004.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's very basic. If you want to try this yourself if you're playing the game, basically you just have to roll there, do 2 backflips, side hop, line up the sword's B button along there, roll, and then on the second roll you do roll and hold up. It's like very basic, all things considered.
And on your first trip to the basement...
that one...
Yeah.
Yeah.
On your first trip to the basement, the web just doesn't load right. It's like in a weird shape. So you can just get right through the edge of it and fall down.
Yeah, because you're supposed to go around and come through a different loading zone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Danny, do you want me to take Goma Clip while you do it?
Yeah, so the first thing I want to say is that, like, we're going to do a wrong warp right after we beat the boss, right? But the problem is that we need access to both the blue ring of light that's going to spawn, that's going to take us out to the Kokiri Emerald cutscene, and the door that I just came from. We need access to both of them at the same time, but when I come through this area right here, this big stone slab is going to fall down and block the way to the door. So we have to do something about that, and that's going to be Goma Clip.
Yeah, so for a long time, the fastest way in the old days was you would kill Goma and die on the same frame.
I remember that.
Yeah, because then you would go back to the beginning of the Deku Tree, come down, the stone slab's gone. like, I guess it feels new, but like a decade ago.
Yeah.
A trick was discovered called Goma Clip. We're getting ISG again here, and we are going to get Goma to push us through the wall, and then we're going to kill Goma while on the other side and immediately get back. So Danny's going to pause buffer here, looking for a certain frame of the eye for the visual cue.
As what you were saying is that you can pause and it
Yep.
always
Exactly,
instantly
yep.
stops.
Ooh.
Needs another clip here.
Yeah, one more frame.
Ah,
Ooh.
I'm late. All right, I'm going to try one more time. This might not work if you don't get it in the first 2 tries.
This trick is quite hard.
Yeah. Thankfully, if it doesn't work, we can just go back to the old
nice,
strat.
Danny,
Oh,
nice.
Okay, let's see here. This is difficult here.
Goma sometimes decides that she wants to climb the door instead of doing a lunge attack. So, but luckily, we can just try that again.
Yeah.
Does it
'Cause when
restart the cutscene?
No, it skips the cutscene mostly.
Yeah, because when you get through, you're technically away from Goma, and we do need to kill Goma. So you do need to have her in the middle of an attack and then stun her so that her eye is kind of like almost like up against the wall or slightly inside of that wall. And then by doing perfect timed side hops, your sword collisions, as it's swinging every frame, you can see it's kind of glowing like a lightsaber right now. That's how you know that Infinite Sword Glitch is active. It can just barely touch the collision of the eye and hopefully take down all the damage. And it's able to be done so fast thanks to the stick, because the stick is one of the most broken items, so it deals full Master Sword damage when you do a jump slash with it. So it's 3 jump slashes technically right there that basically kills it. So he does that, and it stores the damage. Because the crouch tab, Nintendo forgot to assign a value for how much damage it should deal, so it just does whatever was the last dealt damage.
Yeah, and it's super lucky that crouch stabs are the ones that are broken, because crouch stabs are the only attack that you can initiate ISG on, and so every single frame that ISG is active, it's just doing the most powerful attack that I can do. So here we go. This is going to be the wrong warp. I'm going to save the game here so that if I fail it, we have something to come back to.
Do you want us to be quieter in this trick?
Yeah, it's okay. It's not that intense, hopefully.
Okay, so Danny is going to do something called Ocarina items here. This is where you pull the Ocarina and then an item during in midair, and it plays like an Ocarina. Who knows why? Then Danny is going to try to...
think I'm late.
He can move around while the blue warp is active. We want the blue warp to go for a certain number of frames, then interrupt it with opening this door. And those 2 flags combined take you here.
That's so sick.
And it is just a complete coincidence that the pointers add up in such a way that, you know, the first dungeon in the game takes you here. Because there are not wrong warps in every boss room to every area. They're very specific to different places, and it is so convenient that Deku Tree takes you here.
And then you walk into you killing Ganon.
And incredibly convenient, specifically that we're just past the Ganondorf fight.
Yes, yeah.
Because Ganondorf, like the final boss, Ganon, you know, pig form, has very little item requirements. Like, you just got to do damage, right? But this guy, you need light arrows. And light arrows need magic, which implies that you have Zelda's Lullaby to get magic, and you need to be able to shoot the bow, which Child Link can't do. So it's like a whole thing, right? So the fact that we wrong warp like right exactly past this guy is so important.
Yeah, and it's all thanks to that these old games are basically in like a random order, the loading zones in terms of values. So by mixing up those values, because the entire purpose of all of that glitch was simply just to delay the blue warp.
Yeah.
That was all we did. So normally the game would wait a certain amount of time from when you enter a blue warp to when it teleports you away.
Why you crack the nuts? He cracked 2 nuts while he was side hopping.
Oh, that was because, so we need the blue warp to be cold or like on, you know, loaded for an exact amount of time. Yeah. And so the 2 Deku nuts are just to pause Link's movement, because once you cross that like hump, the blue warp is unloaded and is no longer trying to take Link away.
Yeah,
and so the 2 nuts
are just like a known delay, right? Like, we know how long they take, and so it allows us to offset our movement by the right amount of time so that we sync up the door opening with the exact moment that the blue warp is trying to take us to the cutscene outside.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's plenty of setups that uses different things. This one uses nuts, and any of them have the same objective, is that when you get to the end of the corridor and the blue warp unloads because it's off camera, it is set up to such a specific amount of frames that when you click on open door and it reloads because the camera zooms back out, it hits the teleport of the blue warp at the same frame you go through the loading zone. And then math does its thing, and here we are. In a simplified way. It's it's a lot more complicated, but that's the TLDR of it.
So in this tower collapse sequence, there's a few cool optimizations we can do to like make Zelda move faster, because it's kind of like an auto-scroller. Like, she has to get to the door before we can move forward. But most important is that I don't touch any of the burning rocks on the ground, because if I burn, my Deku Shield will burn, and then the game will crash. So I have to avoid anything that has fire on it. I'm going to fight these guys with ISG. I'm going to try to get them away from the fire so that I don't have to get anywhere near it. One guy dead.
Danny, what's the cause behind the burn crash? Do you know?
Say that again.
What's the cause behind the burn crash?
I don't know, honestly.
If I remember correctly, I think it's to do with text boxes, that it pulls a text box from Zelda, and you're not supposed to get a text box of a burning shield as Young Link. I think.
Okay.
It's something to do with the text box and Zelda.
Because you're not supposed to be here as Young Link.
No,
right?
not at all. Yeah.
That's chill that you got hit during the
So
cutscene?
the falling rocks don't burn, and also during a cutscene you're invulnerable.
Yeah. It's those ones sitting on the ground.
The ones on the ground are the ones that have fire on them. Like, I know they all visually have fire, but the ones on the ground only have active fire.
This staircase is a little sketchy, so I'm just gonna stay behind Zelda here because she might push me like into a rock or something. All right, we should be good.
Yeah, there's been a few good runs where this last quarter coming up here have lost a run, because when you're going with record pace, you get ahead of Zelda, and she can very easily push you into these rocks up here.
She's got a big old hitbox.
Yeah.
A massive one, yeah.
Yeah.
Danny, are we going to see a kiss?
If I can get ahead of her, we'll see.
A little smooch?
Maybe.
You can smooch?
Almost.
If you're in like a very specific part at the like in the dead middle, you turn around to look at her as she raises the door, and she gives you a little smooch.
As Young
You're
Link?
like squeezed between her and the gate.
Zelda that dog?
I know.
So this cutscene here has a funny story behind it. Back in the day when people were getting really good at this category, they were noticing that like their Ganon splits, you know, the time from exiting the last door there until the time they beat Ganon, it had like more variation than they thought it should. And people started thinking like, oh, are like some Wii's faster than other Wii's or whatever? And it turns out that all like the stones that are like flying around there, like all the particles and shit, those are completely random. And so they'll cause varying amounts of lag in this cutscene. So the length of time that this cutscene takes can vary by as much as like 3 seconds.
Dude.
So you got to sit here and deal with cutscene.
Wait, was the IQ thing real?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was for text. That was
Okay.
for text speed.
My favorite thing of that story, though, was one person got accused of cheating because he had so many runs that had a really fast one out of just pure luck. And when it was proven that he wasn't cheating, he took a Intel Core i7 sticker and slapped it on his Wii and started showing it off. So anytime someone asked about it, he would just show that his Wii had that i7 inside.
Yeah, that's funny.
There were
Upgraded CPU.
so many debates in that era about like, are black Wii's faster than white Wii's? Like, is the red Wii any good?
Do you have to hire an astrophysicist?
The Wii's actually are faster,
We
but
had a
only for the
20-page
disk
paper.
drive.
Yeah.
The Wind Waker actually does have to deal with the faster Wii's.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you can lose literally 30 seconds if you have a really slow Wii, because the disk drive
How do you
is
get a
bad.
slow... Oh, I see.
Yeah,
Unlucky.
yeah.
The guy you bought it from eBay used to put maple syrup in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's yummy.
It is yummy. And it looks like a toaster, so it must function as one.
This fight's cool.
Yeah, so for the Ganon battle, right, you need the Master Sword in order to beat Ganon. We do not have the Master Sword. We came here, you know, straight from Kokiri Forest 10 minutes ago. But luckily, at the beginning of this fight, there's this like scripted cutscene interaction where he like, you know, slashes at you and you hold up your sword to block it, and it like just knocks the Master Sword out of your hand, even though we don't have it. But now there it is, which is very convenient, because if that did not happen, we would be stuck. We wouldn't be able to beat the boss. But luckily, we can still do damage during this first phase with anything, and in particular, Deku Sticks do as much damage as the Master Sword does. And you know, normally that trade-off is that they break after one use, but with this ISG glitch, they don't break. So we can just walk right under his legs, do damage real quick. And also, every single item that can deal damage to Ganon is nerfed down to minimum like 1 point of damage, except for the Master Sword and, for some reason, Deku Sticks. So Deku Sticks still retain like all the damage that they can do against Ganon.
Deku Sticks are crazy, man.
Also, if you look at the B button right now, he actually does genuinely have the Master Sword equipped right now. It equips it automatically when you pick it up there. So even though it looks like the Kokiri Sword, it is the Master Sword. Which is very good, because you can't do the final hit on Ganon with anything else. So it's very nice that you can pick it up even as Child Link there.
All right.
Time
So the final hit
soon,
is
right?
going to be like right after, or the time is going to end right as I do the final hit here. And then we're going to move into the same run, but a little bit different.
Same, but different.
Also, for a marathon run, this is
stick
very
of
good
destiny
run.
is glowing. All right.
Time.
That's time.
GG.
It's like a
And that is defeat
21-48.
Ganon as it was like 11 years ago.
Yeah.
Old school.
Beautiful run.
And now we're going to switch it up a little bit. So I just did this run on the Wii Virtual Console version of the game.
Wait. Before Danny says anything, Danny, don't go to the Wii menu.
Okay.
How many versions of Ocarina of Time, Linkus, do you think Danny has on his Wii home screen? On page 1. On page one. How many OOTs do you think he has?
I want to, hold on. Fast OT, practice ROM,
Yeah.
English,
Yeah.
Japanese,
Yep.
one randomizer.
Okay, maybe.
And then I want to guess he has modded in 1.0, so I'm going to guess 6.
I'm guessing one more than him.
I think it is. I know it's quite a few. He's got Master Quest. He's got OOT. He's got 1.0 Inject. He's got GZ for both one for GameCube and VC.
Aw.
It's a lot. We got 1,
7.
2, 3, 4, 5, 7.
So
One-
Lud,
one
I guess.
got it.
I guess there you go.
I cheated. I just
And
want
one
one
Majora's
opposite.
Mask.
Oh wait, no, it's
Wait,
6
no, it is
OOTs
6
and 1
OOTs.
MMO.
Oh,
Oh wait, okay,
no,
so
no,
actually,
this is OOT as well.
Wait,
this
you-
is OOT.
oh wait, yeah, that is. Oh,
Come
yeah.
on.
Unlucky. Unlucky.
And that's the one we're going to play.
Hey, you're getting a lot better.
Yeah, thank you.
So we were just playing on the Wii Virtual Console version, which is the one that you would get from the Wii Shop back in the day. But this run is going to be done on the Master Quest disc. And I don't need this anymore. And we're not going to play Master Quest. We're still going to play the vanilla version of Ocarina of Time, but it needs to be on the GameCube version. Because the new glitch that got discovered that powers this whole run, which unseated the Ganondorf Wrong Warp from its throne of 12 years of dominance. I don't know what this is.
That is the progressive scan notification on GameCube games.
Yeah, you just press the first one, so it's 480p. Yeah.
Okay. I never saw that before.
Also, before it gets into the run, can I just note, stream can't see it, even though this is the GameCube version.
Ah.
And everyone plays on the with the GameCube controller. Danny is one of the only runners who bought an adapter to be able to use an N64 controller
You're loyal.
on his Wii.
I also am an
Everyone-
N64
Really?
guy.
Really? I was going to say, almost everyone hates the N64 controller, but he uses an adapter to use it
It's
everywhere.
a bad controller.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
I agree.
when you learn on it, it is hard to do anything else. When I see people playing on GameCube and using the triggers as the C buttons, I'm like, how do you know which one is the C button? Like,
We have a technical difficulty.
Okay.
Not sure what's going on, but I'm going to just
Did we accidentally
reset one more.
choose interlace?
maybe. I think, Danny, next time it gives you that prompt, just press A immediately.
Yeah.
Just go for whatever it defaults
Yeah,
to.
if you
on
just
that
spam,
menu.
if you spam through and yeah. Just press AAA to pick the first one.
Well, while we wait, we got $100 from Anonymous. We got $50 from Mage Tesh. GG, well played, American Connor. Vibery, thank you for the 20. Spinal cord injuries can cause the developmental of oh wow, oh these words are
You
tough.
want an assist here?
Autonomic deflexuria, and unfortunately, this rare condition led a good friend to passing away. But both these charities are life-saving causes. Chat, donate or I will cry. Says Vibery. So that's a threat. $7 for Fang Olives, who said $7 for the number of $7 train for the number of OOTs Danny B has. $7 for the 7 OOTs. If y'all got $7, it'll go to No Kid Hungry and to Wings for Life. And every dollar for No Kid Hungry will feed 10 meals, and every dollar donated to Wings for Life goes directly to research. There's no overhead costs whatsoever that will be deducted from it. And hopefully we're able to get it going here.
Yeah, let's see.
Looks like we got
once it,
the,
once it gets past this screen, we'll see.
$10
All right, we're in.
is 100 meals, and that alone seems wild. We'll think of the tents too.
All right.
Oh, my I thought
Yeah, no.
I was
It's-
like, whoa.
The GameCube version has to like think when you do
Yeah.
things.
Yeah, it's like because it's interacting with the memory card, and like there's the whole emulator on top of it. It's a weird version.
It's a bad version, some have said.
yeah.
Better than the IQ though, which is the only other console that this glitch is going to work on. All right, so time is going to start at the same time, right as soon as Link starts moving. In 3, 2, 1, go.
Let's go, Danny.
Oh, synced.
Okay, so this run is going to start off somewhat similar to the old one, but it's going to diverge pretty hard and pretty quickly in a little bit. Instead of getting the cookie restored, we are going to pick up just one Deca-Stick from the shop. Actually, I also need to change my
I was supposed to remind you of
analog
that.
mapping to Master Quest.
What does that mean?
So there's a device, a divisive device, that allows people playing on the Wii Virtual Console or the Wii versions of the game to have inputs similar to the analog inputs from the N64. Because the N64 has very generous analog inputs, and the analog stick is so buttery smooth. It's delightful. It's why we started playing on it. But there is a device called an ESS adapter, which basically converts the analog inputs from here into a more traditional, to sort of level the playing field and make the controller behave as intended rather than how they sort of screwed it up in this emulated version of the game.
I see.
I call it a legal cheating device.
It is
Yes.
a legal... It's very similar to a UGC, Universal Controller Fix, UCF,
I see,
in that
yeah.
regard. Except instead of being loaded from a memory card, it's a physical device. And so different versions of OOT handle it differently, so Danny had to change some settings so that the game knows, hey, this is GameCube, not Wii Virtual Console.
Look, I'm down with it, man. Like, sometimes devs, like, there's just things that don't work as good.
No, yeah.
And
yeah.
it just comes down to, like, how good's your controller or
yeah.
how good's your Wii, and I feel like those shouldn't be prohibitive measures.
Maybe I'm wrong here, but isn't it like almost 1/3 of the controller is dead zone on the Wii
Yes.
VC? Like
Yeah,
literally,
it's a
they
lot.
made a
1/3?
third.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can almost not have any sensitive angles because they increased it, and it makes no sense because it's usually GameCube controller.
So
or
Link's
Pro
just walking
controller.
everywhere.
Yeah, you basically have to
Yeah.
either run or nothing. Like as a casual, it is so hard to just walk.
And it's so nuts because the N64 is like right outside the center.
Yep.
This is same idea, but we're going to...
We're going to Kakariko Village this time,
yeah.
but for a different reason this time.
No bottle.
No
No
bottle.
bottle.
Okay, all right. Can I take a guess?
Yeah.
You're going to Kakariko Village to talk to Dompe. Dompe time.
Good guess.
I love
but
Dan.
Not right.
Okay. No, I tried.
We'll see.
You did try.
We'll see what's going to happen when we get there. So I'm going to try to do a glitch called a water extended super slide, which I was actually supposed to do in the last run, but I totally forgot because I was messing up I was confusing the movement in this run with that one. But what we're going to try to do is get some momentum in the water and then hold a precise spot on my analog stick, which will allow me to get this slide,
Whoa!
which actually lets me bypass the owl in that tree, which should talk to you. So it helps you get to Kakariko a little faster and bypass the owl cutscene.
Looks like he has a nervous stammer.
It's such a cool trick, ESS, because the idea was that right outside the dead zone, Link will turn around but not walk. So the developers were like, let's just cap the speed because you're coming from the middle, right? So you're at 0. But if you start holding that direction when you have any other speed, it will cap you at a higher momentum than you should.
Yeah, it just preserves any like passive momentum that you have. So bottom of the well is the reason why we're here. And we got some water blocking us. But luckily there's a glitch called a Navi dive, where if we talk to Navi at the same time as we fall, we can ignore the water hitbox. And we just go right down. And we are here for one reason. Most speedruns come here for really one reason, and that is the bomb chews. We're going to get some explosives. And the way that I'm going to do this is a little bit complicated. We're going to use the dead body of Escultula to push us out of bounds. But I have to kill it in a really specific way.
This trick was famously unveiled during an OOT advent calendar, where community members just one day in December were like, hey, we revolutionized bottom of the well. This is what you've been waiting for. And that was this trick, which is called Corpse Push. This is a very, very precise trick where Danny is doing very specific things with the Deku Stick here to kill the Skulltula in a very specific spot. And then all these buffers are to get specific frames for movement because this is a multiple frame perfect trick, which is tough to execute if you're not pause buffering. Also, Danny, you can tell me to shut the fuck up if you want.
No, you're good. I think this frame is right.
It looks good. Nice. Okay, so now
Nice.
Danny's just going to swim in this OOB water column because water extends downwards, and there's some water above here, and then swim straight into the room with the chews, and there you go. And that is genuinely
nice.
so
Wow,
hard.
Very
that was
nice.
crazy.
First try is really sick.
All right, so we got the bomb chews, but we spent our one and only Deca Stick to do it. Luckily, one of the only 3 Deca Sticks in a pot in the whole game is just right here, so we get to refill.
OOT's just full of those fun coincidences, huh?
It's so it's like
Everywhere.
Every time that you think something can't be done in OOT, it's just like there's some really coincidental thing that's like, nah, you could do it. So we're here for one more reason. I lied. There's the bomb choose, but also we're gonna pick up a Deca Shield. We need one of those. We could go back to Cookery Forest to get it from the shop, but luckily, again, there's just one right here in a chest. Something that doesn't happen very often, but here it is.
Is that movement to get the BMOS?
It's to avoid all of the holes in the floor. There's actually a ton of holes in the floor in this room that you can't see that you're supposed to have Lens of Truth.
Well, yes, I know that. I thought you would just side hop over
yeah.
the...
It was also to get the BMOS to look at me a little earlier. Yeah, because we wanted to die here. So I'm going to save the game because we've got something coming up where I'm going to be risking my Deca Stick, and if I break it, it's run over. But now if I mess up, I can just come right back to here. So we're finished with bottom of the well. We've got Deca Sticks. We got Bomb Shoes. We've got a Deca Shield. That is it. That's all we need for this whole run. Those are the items. I got 10 Bomb Shoes. I got to use them all perfectly. I have none to spare.
So you're not using any for that fun backwards trick where you go fast?
I'm actually going to do one of those.
Ooh, what do you call that one?
Hess.
Yeah, yeah.
So I did a glitch right as soon as I exited bottom of the well, where I did like a forward lunge attack with the Deca Stick, but I fell off a ledge at the same time, and so it didn't actually get to pop the lunge, and so I stored it, and it's going to happen the next time that I do any attack with the Deca Stick. So I'm going to, let me get to this corner a little better. I'm going to try to use it along with a jump attack. Okay, going to equip stuff here, and hopefully if I position this jump slash properly, the lunge will pop too, and we go right through the gate. So here's the Hess. We're going to do a hyper-extended super slide. We're going to get some recoil with an explosion and hopefully hold that ESS position on my analog stick to keep the recoil.
Nice.
Cool.
So this is one of the fastest movement options in the game is the Hess. It's incredibly quick.
Yeah, and Death Mountain's tall.
Yes.
Okay, so what you're about to see is going to be very, very silly. We're in Dodongo's Cavern. First of all, I'm going to save the game one more time. One more safety save in case I mess up. And actually, saving the game on the GameCube version introduces like a 1/10 of a second of audio delay, which is enough to mess me up, but it goes away if you go through loading zones. So I'm just reloading here.
So this is Danny's baby. This is the new thing. Everything up till now has been relatively understood.
Right.
This is the new thing. And is quite hard.
Do you know about this, Linkus?
I have seen one YouTube video about it, but I can tell you this is the first and only thing in this run that I could not explain to you, other than game's confused, we're coding stuff.
Game is confused. So the first thing we need is this BMOS here, this friendly gentleman.
Sure. He shoots laser eye.
He does, and we're going to use that laser eye to great effect.
I feel nervous during this boss buffer.
A little mega flip. Get out of bounds. Move to the left a little bit. We're saucing. Those pillars are taller than you think they are.
Those are tall-ass pillars. Oh.
We're hovering out of bounds. That's only possible on this version of the game. You know, just another little coincidence. Little side flip for the fans. Still out of bounds. Another BMOS. We're going to use this guy to great effect. They're all friendly. Laser's deceptive. Actually good dudes.
No! Okay. I'm going to try it one more time.
So you're saying the hover is not exclusive.
So
it's just
hovering is possible in every version of the game,
Right.
but in many versions of the game, hovering out of bounds, specifically with bomb chews need ground, right? They're supposed to run on the ground.
Right.
And there is a time, correct me if I'm wrong on this, Danny, but there is something about pulling a bomb chew out of bounds where there is no ground below you causes the game to crash.
Yeah.
Oh.
And also on the GameCube version of the game, for some reason, the bomb chews explode twice. And it allows you to do a much easier hover than you could on other versions because the explosion like catches up to your shield in a
sounds
different
like
way.
they really fucked up this GameCube version.
It's very bad.
It's weird.
It's a bad
the audio delay thing is crazy.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
for some reason also resetting like messes with the capture. So if I have to like go back to the Wii menu, so hopefully I don't mess that up again because it seems like resetting is a little more costly than I thought it would be.
Well, it gives time to read a $300 donation from
Hey.
who says
True.
It's
Real.
That was it. It's
Sick.
300 to say that. It's a lot of money.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just got another one from Linkus for free.
Yeah.
So this that you're seeing is intentionally making no sense. We will explain this more in a little bit.
Okay.
Danny, when I asked him what commentary do you want me to do for this section, because there's a lot going on, and he said, I think, and I quote, "Just say some fucking nonsense. We'll explain it later."
So,
that is
so
what
we're
he told me
keeping
when
we're keeping
waiting
it
for the Uber
vague.
too.
Yeah.
If I had to guess,
Yeah.
you're going out of bounds,
Yeah.
and then you're going to run up behind a dongo and take him for all he's worth.
Shockingly, we will not be seeing the proprietor of this dungeon.
You just go to his dungeon to use his people.
We're using his people. Look, they're good people.
They're good people.
And when you got good employees, you know, you take them for what it's worth, right? So
Take him for a ride.
this trick probably, I would be shocked if anybody who does not know how this works could even begin to guess the main mechanic of the trick that is about to take place. So all of this is really just setup. We're trying to get into a specific place out of bounds. Gonna let Danny concentrate here.
Okay.
Nice.
Okay, we got pretty colors. Pretty colors are good.
Love that.
All right, so here we go. Let's see if I can get this. Hey, one frame. There we go. Okay. All right, so now that we killed that guy off screen, what we did is kind of destroyed a lot of the collision in the dungeon. It's all gone. And now, we just need to look over here at this wall, very important. Pause the game a few times for no reason. Oh, that might not be good. I don't think I moved, so I think we're fine. Okay, so now I paused enough times.
What do you mean?
And if
Watch
I did
this.
it right,
Ready?
Ganon should be living under the floorboards.
Hey, nice, Danny.
What?
Okay,
This is after the collapse?
yes.
After
So
collapse.
it takes you straight past the collapse, which is one of the reasons why it is so
What
fast.
did I just watch?
That's
the question, isn't it?
The trick that we saw in the first run was Ganon Door. You know, you get to Ganondorf via the door in the Deku Tree.
Yeah.
This is so aptly named Ganon Floor.
Yes.
Because you jump through the floor to get there.
So you're telling me this whole time Dodongo's been running this whole operation?
That's right.
Dude, it
He's
is
been
a
hiding him
sham.
under the
It's a
floor.
sham.
Top down Dodongo's, he runs the cabal.
I know.
So this fight is exactly the same as before. We got our one Deku stick.
Okay, so while we do this fight, please explain to me.
Okay, Danny's going to be much more proficient at explaining what just happened. But basically, would you believe me if I told you that whole thing was basically to just get the audio of an enemy to play at a certain volume?
The eyeball guy?
I believe it's the BMOS you're manipulating, right, Danny?
It's the
is it the
little guy that I
Dodongo?
killed with the
Yeah.
bomb chew at the very end off screen.
The little
it's a Dodongo
Dodonglet?
that like crawls up out of the floor.
Uh-huh.
And so essentially you remember all those like crazy textures that appeared and I said pretty colors?
Yeah.
So we corrupted a bunch of the collision on the map to kind of create our own loading zone from scratch. And that loading zone sends us to a destination based on the volume of the proximity music from nearby enemies.
Genuinely, if you want to know more about this trick, which reasonable, what did Danny even just say? Danny has like a 30 or 40 minute YouTube video that dissects like literally down to the computer science of how this trick works.
Yeah, I'm going to explain it more in a couple minutes right after this
Sure.
fight. We're going to go through a whole thing. I'm going to show
Okay.
you some more stuff about what it does.
Okay.
But I'm not going to go into the nitty gritty because that will get insane really quickly. If you're a Giga nerd like me and you want to know more about it, you can check out that video on my YouTube. And it's a good one. It'll explain everything.
I mean, this This is fast.
Yes.
Because, you even had to reload at one point.
And still 10 minutes faster.
Yes. And it's still going to be like a sub 16.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Not a bad time.
No.
Well,
No,
this
is 10:52. Actually, a world record was just set by a speedrunner named TKC last night in this category. It's at 10:30. So it is active.
What is the world record for the previous route you took?
What is world record for defeat Ganon without Ganon floor? Probably like with intro skip 16, 15?
Yeah, 16:57.
Oh, that's
I think,
time, by the way. Yeah,
without
time.
intro skip.
Time.
Oh yeah, that's time.
Yeah.
Bang!
Danny, you just beat Ocarina of Time 2 times.
I
And the
did.
amount of time it takes most people to get past the Deku tree.
And that wasn't even any percent.
Well, no,
you could beat this
most-
game in 4 minutes.
to get past Mido.
Okay, sure.
Is Mido undefeated, by the way?
No,
Can
there is
you
a
get
way
by him?
past him. There's
Yeah,
a way
okay.
past him without Sword and Shield. It's incredibly difficult and not that useful, but yes, it's possible.
All right. I'm really happy I got through that. The Dodongo's Cavern part is not easy. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to explain it a little better. And it's not going to be me on the controller. What you're about to see is a recording. It's not a video. I recorded the inputs, kind of like a TAS, if you're familiar with that, a tool-assisted speedrun. The inputs are going to be playing back from a memory card, and I'll just be talking over what Link is doing.
If you're counting from home, this is the 3rd different version of Ocarina of Time we will be seeing in the last 30 minutes. This is a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful program made by a member of the community that is called the Practice Hack or the Practice ROM. Phenomenal tool that has revolutionized speedrunning, and we have macros. We can warp to specific places, save states in the game. Literally, I can't believe we used to do it any other way. And so Danny has recorded the inputs for the glitch exhibition he's about to do so that he can just commentate and you can all listen to his sultry, dulcet tones while we...
Slightly less dulcet this morning. Okay, so I'm going to click play here. I may pause and explain something a little more deeply at some points, but here we go. So there are some numbers on the screen. You can mostly ignore everything except for the number that's right near Link's head, and I'll explain a little bit about what that is in a moment. But we're starting from entering Dodongo's Cavern. Importantly, this only works on the GameCube or the iQube versions of the game as Child Link at nighttime. It doesn't work any other way. So we're going to enter Dodongo's Cavern, and my hands are off the controller. I'm not doing any of this. So our first goal is to get out of bounds behind a room transition trigger between this room and the next room with the baby Dodongos that I was in before. And normally when I go across that trigger from this room to that room, it unloads this one, loads the next one. If I get on the wrong side of that trigger and come the opposite way, I'm going to duplicate this room. I'm going to load this room again. I'm going to duplicate everything in it. Notably, I'm going to duplicate these things called dynamic polygons, which comprise like moving hard objects like this elevator right in front of us. And they only have a certain amount of memory that they're allowed to take up. But by duplicating the room and creating lots of copies of those things, I'm going to overflow. That's the room transition trigger, by the way, that big black square. I'm going to overflow those things past where they're supposed to be and corrupt whatever comes next in memory, which happens to be the collision for the environment, which is why the floor disappears. So now we're duplicating the room back and forth. We're going to get 4 copies in the main room. And now the collision is corrupted. We're going to use that corruption to our advantage to create a loading zone from scratch. And that loading zone is going to send us to a location dependent on the proximity music of nearby enemies. So that number that was near Link's head currently says 0. If you saw it moving a moment ago as I was near that enemy, that is the live watch of the volume of the enemy music. And so right now that reads 0.
You keeping up so far, Ludwig?
Yeah.
Is this all making perfect sense?
Hey, quadruple dupe, and you got the Dodongo.
Yeah.
You got it. So now we have to create the loading zone, and the loading zone is going to be created by a line of 8 pixels, and we're going to interpret their colors as collision data. And so we stand in this perfect spot so that the colors of those pixels lines up right to mimic a real loading zone, and that loading zone is going to point us to scene 0 because volume 0, the Deku tree. And so that's not all. So I warped to Ganon, right? Now I warp to the Deku tree. You can warp to anywhere in the whole game because the range of available volumes is larger than the range of scenes that you can go to in the game, right? Scene 0, Deku tree. Scene 4F was Ganon. It's currently 7F. And if I die now, whenever you reload from a death in this game, it's going to send you to the last entrance that you came from. Right? You die, you go back to the beginning of a dungeon or like, you know, wherever you were. Right now, the game's reference for where we came from is the enemy volume. And so I can just manipulate this enemy volume to a different number and then die, and then we do the warp again. The warp triggers again. So I'm going to warp now at volume 1, and we're going to go to scene 1, which is right back where we came from. We're going to go back to Dodongo's Cavern. And you can just keep doing this over and over again forever, as long as you keep... hold on. There was a little thing at the bottom of the screen that said RNG desync detected. This happens sometimes. If the thing doesn't play back perfectly, we can get a desync. But luckily, I came prepared. I have save states for everything.
Oh, well, yeah.
So 2, 4, 6, 8. This means that anything random that would have happened might have happened differently than it did when I recorded it, which could lead to some bad outcomes. But so we're just going to reload from a state where that desync didn't happen.
Sure.
So
because it's not a video, it's playing through the action.
Exactly. This is live. This is happening in game. So you can just do this warp over and over again for as long as you keep warping to a location with an enemy that you can change the volume value to something different, and you know so that you can die. And so that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna just warp through to like every dungeon in the game. Just gonna warp around Hyrule. I'm gonna set Pharaoh's Wind here. Just keep this in mind. Pharaoh's Wind is a warp item that you can use to like come back to a location that you set the warp point in. So just remember that this is here, and we're going to talk about it later. But for now, Link is just going to repeatedly die for our entertainment and warp around Hyrule, and we'll see some cool places. And I'll talk about a little bit about how this was discovered in the first place.
Yeah, because that is the ultimate question everyone wants to know, right?
Yeah.
How does this stuff get found?
Yeah, right. So, like 7 years ago, I was messing around in Dodongo's Cavern. I was like duplicating rooms by like going around the room transition trigger, right? And I wasn't expecting anything weird to happen, but all of a sudden, like the floor disappeared and the walls disappeared, and like I was just falling all around. I was not interacting with the map as I should, and like no one had ever seen that before as a result of duplicating rooms. That was brand new, and so people eventually realized that what was happening was the dynamic polygons were overflowing their intended bounds in memory and corrupting the collision of the map, which was causing essentially, you know, the collision to just disappear because it wasn't loading right. And I was exploring that a little bit, and eventually my game crashed, and I was like, oh, okay, so you know, the game is just in an unstable state. The game crashed, whatever. That lay dormant for 7 years. And then in January of this year, a prolific glitch hunter of Ocarina of Time named Natalia has died, DMs me on Discord, and he's like, hey, Danny, I've been looking at this, and I think that if we control that corruption, that memory corruption, we can get something interesting to happen. What if we can create a loading zone from scratch? And that was music to my ears, because if something cool could come of this discovery I made 7 years ago, that'd be great. So I go back to Dodongo's Cavern and I start messing around, same as I did 7 years ago. And I shit you not, within 5 minutes of me going back to this, I got a warp out of nowhere to Ganon, and I was freaking out. Like 26 years into this game, you don't find warps to the final boss you don't find warps to the final boss in any game very often, especially one as well studied as this one, right? So within like 24 hours of me stumbling upon that by good luck, we had a brand new working route for the Defeat Ganon category. And within 24 hours after that, a new world record was set that beat the old version from the Deku Tree. So it happened so fast. And so like, if it happened so fast, as soon as somebody said like, hey, what if we could create a loading zone from scratch? Like, why didn't it happen 7 years ago when I did it? And the only reason is that, remember how I said my game crashed when I was playing with it 7 years ago? That's what happens when you do this, not as Child Link at nighttime. And so I had the wrong combination of Link's age and time of day, and we could have had this completely by luck in 2017.
So you just were unlucky that you went at daytime with adult.
Yeah, exactly.
This is the perfect example of you just got to put it on black one more time.
Right.
Because it didn't work the last time, but it's sure this time.
Your big win's about to come.
Exactly.
So why would you stop betting?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And right now you're just proving every time you're dying is a different noise amount, and so it brings you to a different one of the scenes. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so
He gets it.
This time, this is the last warp I'm going to do. I just came to King Dodongo's boss room, like let's say in my speed run, I got to pick up this heart container. But here's the problem, right? In this place, there's no more enemies. I can't change the volume value any further. It's stuck at 12. 12 was the number I used to get here. If I die again, I'm going to come right back here again because it's still on 12. I have no more enemies I can use. And so what's going to happen is I'm going to die. I'm going to reload this area, go back up top, and we're just going to leave through the door. Back to the, Dodongo's cavern from the door. And when I take a normal loading zone like that, any further deaths will now no longer reference the enemy volume to know where to send me because I took a regular loading zone. So it's going to reference that and send me back there. But if you remember, so here's the door. I'm going to go through the door. And now as soon as I go through it, the glitch is over. It's done. No more glitch, right? But I set Pharaoh's Wind a while ago. And Pharaoh's Wind kind of works similarly to death in that when you set it, it stores where you came from so that later on when you use it, you can go back to where you came from. And where I came from when I used Pharaoh's Wind and I set that warp point was the enemy volume. And so what you can do is you can kill this glitch, go do whatever you need to do in your run, put it in your back pocket with Pharaoh's Wind, and then pick it back up again whenever you want. So this glitch can go anywhere.
Like storing a NES yo-yo glitch.
It can go anywhere repeatedly. You can break it, and then you pick it back up whenever you want again.
Is this going to be a thing for 100% then?
Yes.
Where like you're storing it, you beat the game, and then it's like, all right, I'm going to go to the boss from here.
Exactly. Yeah. So like you do as much as you can. You warp all around Hyrule, and then like maybe you set Pharaoh's Wind, you go do some other stuff, and you come right back to it. 100% is definitely the best candidate for this to have further use. Defeat Ganon was like, we only got to go one place and we got to get there fast. So it was like the perfect use case to get it into a speedrun as soon as we could. But 100%, as you might guess, is very hard to route. But hopefully we'll see it in a run at some point soon.
Right.
But that's all I got. 2 runs and a glitch exhibition. Hope you guys enjoyed.
Absolutely, Danny. I think it was a blast. That was
Incredible.
It was so basically you went through the floor because you didn't maybe have the tools to kill yourself without maybe triggering another enemy volume. Is that it?
So the initial trick we create an invisible loading zone from scratch, and we have to hit that loading zone in order to trigger the whole glitch in the first place. And so the loading zone just happened to exist under the broken collision of the floor.
Right.
And so once you do that, then you keep doing it with dying because you just need to reload your last entrance over and over.
I see. So the first one you have to go through and then...
Yeah, exactly.
Danny, that was awesome.
OT speedruns are wizardry, man. It's crazy.
Yeah, I'm sure chat picked up a great chunk of that explanation and missed a great chunk not too dissimilar from myself. But I think we all enjoyed watching. There's been a shit ton of donos throughout it all. Thank you for $100 from Len, $100 for Anonymous. But can I get some hearts in chat for Danny? You said you have a YouTube. What is the YouTube?
It's dannyb 21892. They won't give me the Danny.
They won't give you Danny B?
It's been defunct
and they're forcing
for years,
that
man.
many numbers on you, those jerks.
Yeah.
Danny B 21892. That right?
Yep.
Danny B 21892.
Just Danny B on Twitch though.
Just Danny B on Twitch. And you said there's a 40-minute video if you're curious more on how the trick works. Yeah, you have one, right?
Yes.
That explains more of it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, hell yeah, man. I appreciate the showcase and the commentary.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Lud. It was great.
I think this is our highest skilled couch. I mean, I'm a blight on it, but like in terms of knowledge of the game, having 3 people who seem quite knowledgeable, I think it's a treat.
Linkus, thank you.
Yeah, I love OT. This is the game that I grew up speedrunning this game, and I think Linkus did too.
Yeah. My grade significantly dropped from Clint's 100% streams.
Oh, yeah.
I watched him every single day, and he would stream us at Stygian hours. It was right during school for me.
Oh, yeah,
So,
for European.
Yeah.
It's at noon.
So this was my life for 3-4 years straight.
Yeah,
Ocarina of Time.
It's just a pleasure to get to share this thing that all 3 of us care a lot about with people.
Yeah, that's still changing and still adapting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's cool because it's like it reminds me so much like when you find a speedrunning community of like Melee, because it's like that practice tool you're talking about, like that changes the game completely, and that's just like a person who develops it, spends a lot of their free time doing it, and then it changes the game completely.
And it changed the community too. After that, it was so well received that other Zelda games now has similar tools, all inspired by the Ocarina of Time tool. So even Wind Waker has a slightly less like defined feature-wise version, but still has it. And it's so good because then you don't have to deal with the difference in input delay on an emulator or what have you, which doesn't really work well for practice.
And it also just accelerates everybody's skill levels so much because we have these tools that we can just focus our practice. We can create scenarios from scratch that normally you would have to like play through the game to get up to them, or like have a save state pack on an emulator. But you don't speedrun on emulators, so maybe your muscle memory gets a little bit off from your practice to your runs. It changes everything. It's so good.
Yeah.
Well, a few quick shout-outs before we go to a break. First off, we just had $855 donated, but that was from people who have bought T-shirts. Oh. You guys don't know there's shirts, and $5 from every shirt goes to charity. So if you want an item, like if you want a little something, I don't harsh you for that. You can get a shirt from the event and then also donate along the way. And also, every single like on the stream, on the YouTube stream, I will donate 10 cents on your behest for you.
What are we at right now?
We're at 68,000 likes.
Damn.
And I promise you, way more than 68,000 people have tuned in. Usually in a stream, it's like 150 to 300K. That's like a 4-hour stream. And we are, 20 hours deep. We're 20 hours deep. We're almost halfway through this joint.
God.
So anyway, make sure you like if you haven't. And we are going to go to a quick break. We're going to be back with visuals with Hollow Knight. We'll be back in just a quick little bit. See you soon.